Welcome to our new little podcast. I'm Zach.
And I'm Nicole.
In today's episode, we have a guest on to speak about gun control with us. Patrick, introduce yourself, man.
Hi, I'm Patrick. I'm going to be attending Penn State University. I used to play soccer, and I would say my view is, independent. I don't really align myself with any independent party, but I guess that'd be where I stand.
So, today we're going to be talking about gun control kind of in general. So, right off the bat, what do you guys think about gun control as a whole?
Um, I feel like there should be some restrictions on it. Obviously, I guess not remove all of them. Assault weapons. I feel like definitely shouldn't be in the hands of citizens. It's more of like a military thing, hence the name of like assault. Um, I guess on the flip side though, I feel like hunting rifles and that kind of thing should be allowed. But I guess the area between hunting rifles and like assault rifles or whatever it is, I guess there's not a way to define it. But yeah, I guess that's where I stand.
No, I get that. I kind of agree with you. Assault rifles, it's hard for me to see it into the hands of the people just because of how dangerous they are. I don't think we should ban all guns. Um, though personally, like in my personal belief, I don't really support guns or anything. It's kind of like the way I view abortion. You can't make laws against it, so I agree with that. If you can't make laws against abortion, you can't really make laws banning guns. And I think handguns are acceptable. With all the mass shootings going on, you need some form of self defense. And when you have that self defense, or you take it away, no self defense means that you're at a loss. There's no one to protect you or yourself. You have nothing for you, and I think that's why we need some guns out there.
So, this might be surprising because I'm usually opinionated in a lot of areas, but this is an area where I'm not so sure. I think I can definitely see both sides of the debate. Part of me is like, people are dying from gun violence daily, so something needs to be done immediately. But then the other side of me wonders how effective it would be because, people say if guns are criminalized, people who are already criminals aren't going to be like, okay, well, I was planning on murdering someone, but I'm not going to illegally obtain a gun. Like they're not going to stop just because guns are illegal. But then again, it has worked in other countries. So that's why I'm kind of like all over the map on this. I don't really know what the right answer is, but I can see from a lot of different perspectives.
Yeah, the way I see, yes, other countries have banned guns, but guns in those countries weren't really like a necessary right to those people. How like the Second Amendment clearly states, right to bear arms, and the interpretation of that is so different from what it could have been from what the framers made. But I just find it interesting how a lot of people who are anti-gun make that argument, but don't really look at how much Americans value those guns.
But I think the Second Amendment is an interesting area because you're talking about the interpretation and you're viewing it as an individual right. Well, the Second Amendment was never really viewed as like a personal liberty until the more recent years, like the 70s and onward. Before that, it was just seen as kind of like an archaic piece of text in the Constitution. And people have brought it up and made it a personal right because of, I don't know, different political things that are happening at the time. But I don't know if our entire history of America is actually as pro Second Amendment, pro guns as individual rights as you say it is.
I agree with that. One thing that I think is that when the Second Amendment was there, I guess it's also for that citizens could have weapons too in the case where government becomes too over or omnipotent. That's the best word for it. When it becomes too omnipotent,
Yeah.
then the citizens can end up revolting against it and I guess fixing that situation. But in that kind of thing, I get it doesn't really I guess protect certain like all weapons and all that kind of thing and all kind of stuff you can use with the weapons. So I guess it's a really hard thing because we use the interpretation of when it was originally made, or we use the interpretation of like what it is now and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's such a difference between the way liberals and Republicans both interpret that Second Amendment, but they still come out with the same thing. Republicans think like all guns should be, there should be no limits on how you can get guns, and that's my biggest thing. We should restrict how people can get guns. There should be extensive background checks. And I'm not saying this because we need to restrict good people from getting guns. I'm saying this because we need to limit bad people from getting guns. People who are past criminals, people who have history of mental disease. Those people don't should not get guns because we've seen in the past the crimes that they've committed. all guns aren't bad, but it's just guns with the right people is where it works.
And yeah, I think the other thing about the Second Amendment in this debate, so obviously the two sides, people who are against gun control say focus on the right to bear arms part of the Second Amendment. People who are for gun control focus on the well-regulated militia part because that is in the Second Amendment. So some people who want to see really sweeping gun control say guns were only meant to be for the military in the first place, like military and police. So should people have it? And this is another area where I'm kind of I don't really know because if only the police and the military have guns, that makes me uneasy because obviously I'm radical. I don't support either of them. So I don't want only them to have guns because I wouldn't feel safe in that scenario.
It'd
I
be
don't
too easy
know.
for them to have guns for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely don't want only the police and the military to have guns. If gun control is happening, I don't think they should have it either.
Any
I don't
thoughts on that, Patrick?
know.
Um, that's understandable.
Yeah.
Especially with like Myanmar and all that, where the military took over the government really easily. I guess people couldn't really do anything against it. Um, yeah, I understand that. From
Mhm.
I guess from that perspective.
Yeah, you have to find a balance. Between power having guns and people who aren't in power having guns. Because if everybody in power has guns, then there's no chance to potentially overthrow a corrupt government. And obviously, in the past 200 years since the making of the Constitution, America has not had a fully corrupt dictatorship. Um, but it's possible, and if it does occur, there's going to be no one there to fight for the rights of the people.
But even without thinking about like some revolution, on an individual level, why do we think that police officers and people in the military are more why do we think guns are more safe in their hands than anyone else? Like, here, let me give you two statistics. First, one of the most common jobs of serial killers is a police officer. Second, 7 in 10 people in the military have PTSD. So, if you're talking about people with mental illnesses not having guns, I hate to say it, but that's people in the military. So,
I mean, yeah, I get that. Patch kind of blindsided us there.
I don't know. I guess I can see that. How do I word this? Like the British police obviously don't really carry weapons on them,
mhm.
and nothing bad really comes out of it. I guess, and if they need to have weapons, then they can obviously call backup, or I don't know if they have a SWAT over there, but call whatever they need to help. And I guess for the military, I think they should have weapons. I guess I'm just not sure how they regulate that whole kind of thing. I'm not sure how laws apply, especially to military things, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like more safer with the military having weapons than with police having or with police having weapons.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, the military are regardly highly trained officers, and a lot of them with PTSD normally get honorably discharged from the service, and they also sometimes in a lot of states struggle to get guns as well, just because of restrictions and everything and how PTSD. We don't even as much research as we have into it, we don't know how it. We truly don't know how it affects people because it affects everyone differently, and everybody gets different symptoms, and there's different ways to treat it for everyone. But when it comes to police having guns, yes, I don't really believe that police should carry all these guns and have like a shoot first mentality. But in some situations, it's hard to tell when your life's in danger, and just having that as just a potential savior can save a lot of police officers' lives. I don't think every first intention should be, oh, I'm going to go shoot when they feel they're in danger, but I feel like it should be the last necessary resort, and it's hard to define that because you don't know what's going to happen in every situation.
But I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just feel like I don't think that either of those groups should be above the law, and I don't feel any safer with a gun in their hands than like in Zach's hands. I don't know. I just don't.
I would not feel safe with a gun in my hands. I would not feel safe at all if I owned a gun.
But I mean, they're just regular people. Like, police officers have less training than hairdressers. They don't have, like, bias training. They don't have those psychological trainings that they
Well,
should
it's the
have.
training they have it in though. I mean, obviously hairdressers aren't trained in how to shoot guns, but police officers are.
I know, but it's just like they have such a small amount of training. Like, there's so few qualifications to be a police officer and literally have life or death in your hands. That's so messed up to me.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, it like I said, I mean it's the type of training they have and they go through this training, but those people are considered good trained. And there's so many more good cops than there are bad cops. And the media doesn't portray that. They portray the bad cops. And I'm not saying that I'm gonna like sit here and like praise the police force because I think there's a lot of problems within it and a lot of corruption. But I do believe that we should give respect to the good cops out there and that, they should be the ones with guns. And these cops who have showed in the past that they're using aggressive force or, they're trigger happy, they need to be the ones who are on desk jobs or don't carry guns with them.
But just the fact that that's not happening, the fact that police officers can like misuse their position and stay in power or not face the proper consequences, that shows that this is a corrupt system. Even the police officers who aren't shooting citizens are enabling it. They're all part of a system that is having deadly and disastrous results.
Yeah, no, I
I
get
don't
that.
know. I mean, like, that's now we're kind of getting into like a whole nother debate, but
Yeah, so before we wrap everything up, let's just bring it all together here, and we'll start with you, Pat. Just talking about if you had to like just summarize like your ideal gun control laws or like your just ideal take on gun control, how would you wrap it up? Like how would you sum it?
Um, I guess I'm fine with like pistols and like hunting rifles and that kind of sort, but not like assault style weapons. I don't know. I guess assault style. I guess is dependent on. I guess it's more of a subjective opinion and that kind of thing. Um, and as well as that, especially with like Biden bringing stuff up recently on that, I don't particularly agree with ghost guns, where you can buy the parts of a gun and then build it and it won't be listed as an actual thing. Um,
yikes.
yeah, so I don't I don't particularly agree with that either. But I guess my thing is feel like people should have guns, but not the guns that if they were to be used against people, it could result in like I guess a mass homicide. That's a really broad term and like a broad kind of like interpretation, but
No,
that's
I,
my kind of thing.
I I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that to some extent. I guess to sum my views up, so like in theory, I don't want gun control because then people couldn't protect themselves from the government. That's my radical theoretical view. But then in
It's
reality,
always radical.
people okay, let me reel it back in. In the here and now, people are dying daily from gun violence, and we've seen examples in other nations of how that could be prevented with gun control. So I guess my realistic, if I wanted to see legislation passed tomorrow, it would be gun control. It would be I don't know specifically, but pretty sweeping so that gun deaths are severely lowered.
You know, gun violence it's a problem in America. It's a problem everywhere, really. The mass shootings recently, in Colorado, and even the ones in the past that we grew up with, Sandy Hook and Parkland. You know, it's about how do people send their kids to school not knowing if that's going to be their last day? Because we grew up common that a mass shooting occurred every other day. It occurred every month. That was just common. It was like, when's the next one going to happen?
Hmm.
But what I do believe is that we need to restrict the background checks, you know, impose that no ghost guns can be granted, that every gun has to be, federally issued and has to go through the registration. We can't let these people who are mentally unstable or deemed unfit have guns because we've seen in the past, like Columbine, and I could name millions of shootings, and it doesn't change the fact that shootings are just still happening, and it's because we're so loose on our gun regulations. ARs, I think, should be banned at the end of the day. I don't think, other than maybe the military that or the SWAT team or whatever you want to call it, I don't think there's any justification for that. Do I think all guns should be banned? No. We should just restrict who can get these guns. Because at the end of the day, the normal people in America aren't killing other people. It's the people who have gone through the loopholes and are finding ways to get guns, illegally and easily that are killing people in America.
Yeah, so I guess we all agree that some gun control needs to happen pretty quickly. So, I mean, I don't know. We all agree on some level, but obviously we have different views on it.
Yeah, I think our own political ideologies are the roots to what we believe in, and how we believe in it is very different and everything. And Patrick, we thank you for coming on today and giving your thoughts on gun control. You were a very good contributor and you helped add to the discussion. So I thank you for that, Pat.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. As always, thank you for tuning in to our New Deal podcast. I'm Zach.
And I'm Nicole.